Hello there, folks. And yes, hello, Tilly. She's got very good now at presenting herself at the beginning of the video. She recognises the signs that I'm just setting up, don't you? You're a very clever dog, yes. So, that's a van going past the window. Okay, so that was Tilly. I'm sure she'll be back. It's time for a book review. And I have been reading, I finished it last week actually, I've been reading The House of Silk by Anthony Horowitz, and this is his take on a Sherlock Holmes story. And I read this, for me, I read this pretty quickly, about a week and a half, which is probably a long time for some of you, but for me, that's a pretty quick read. So I really enjoyed this. So Anthony Horowitz, he writes for television. If you've ever watched Poirot, Foyle's War, or Midsummer Murders, many of those episodes were written by Anthony Horowitz, either from scratch or as with Poirot as a screen adaptation. So he's very, very well known as a script writer, and particularly detective murder type drama. And he was actually asked to write this book. He was asked to write a book that would be another Sherlock Holmes story. And the way he's done this, he writes a preface at the beginning and has Dr. Watson, who, of course, if you know Sherlock Holmes, all of Sherlock Holmes stories are written as if by Dr. Watson, writing up the adventures that he and Sherlock Holmes have after they've happened, and people read. That was the way Arthur Conan Doyle told the stories, as if they were written by Dr. Watson. So what Anthony Horowitz has done with this is he's written this preface at the beginning as if written by Dr. Watson, retelling this tale, saying that he has never written this one up because there are elements of it that would have been too shocking for the readers of the time. And so he's now writing this, but on the promise that it will not be published for 100 years. And so we have it now, which I think is a very clever device by Anthony Horowitz to explain why we've never seen this story before. And of course, there is some part of the story towards the end, which certainly would have been shocking for the readers of the late 19th, early 20th century. And he's kept very much to the kind of style of Conan Doyle. Also, I'll come round to the plot in a minute. At the end of the book, there's a very interesting sort of article that he writes on the writing of The House of Silk, its conception and inspiration, and the rules he used to make sure that he kept it very close to Conan Doyle's style. If you read this book, I really recommend that you read this extra little bit, because I find it really interesting. And I'm going to quote from it as well a bit later on. But you can see how well he has really tried and succeeded to keep the integrity of the Sherlock Holmes stories. So it's quite a convoluted plot. It brings together what appear to be two separate mysteries, but you find towards the end that they are in fact linked. Set in 1890, and it starts out, and so what was so often the case, Holmes and Watson sitting in Holmes's sitting room, and they have a visitor who asks for Sherlock Holmes' help, and he tells them that he is being stalked by a man with a scar who's wearing a flat cap. And he tells them this long story about how he believes that this man is somebody who has followed him from Boston in America because of some events that happened there, and he thinks this man is wanting to take revenge on him. So we sort of get involved into that story. Certain events happen, a murder happens, there's questions over this, and then during that investigation, if you remember, Holmes used, if you've read Sherlock Holmes before, he used some sort of street kids go about London and find information for him. He calls them the irregulars, and at one point during their investigation, one of these boys is also murdered, which upsets Holmes greatly. And so we're then pulled into an investigation of this. And this is where it really starts to get dark and mysterious. And at one point, I won't tell you much more, but about halfway through the novel, Sherlock Holmes himself gets accused of murder as well. So we're sort of following one investigation and we get kind of sidetracked into another. But then towards the end, these two seemingly different investigations come together. It's very, very clever, extremely well constructed. It is difficult to put down at times, especially from that point about halfway through. Things look pretty bad for Holmes at one point, but it's very, very clever and very enjoyable. And he involves a lot of the usual characters. Lestrade, of course, Mrs. Hudson. Even Moriarty makes an appearance at one point. So he brings in all those usual elements of the Sherlock Holmes stories. So it's a lovely thing to read, you know. It's like, you know, when you have your favourite television series or your favourite books and you suddenly find there's another one that you haven't seen or read yet, and it's a kind of real joy. Well, this is like that because he has kept so close to Conan Doyle's style. For anyone who is a great fan of Sherlock Holmes, then I would definitely recommend reading this. As the Times says on the back, Horowitz has captured Holmes' heaven. And the Sunday Express says, perfectly paced, entirely unpredictable, edge of seat exciting, and a total joy from start to finish. Yeah, certainly is unpredictable. Lots of surprises along the way. So definitely one for you, Sherlock Holmes or detective fans. And talking about detective novels and murder mysteries in particular, of course, Horowitz is an absolute expert on this. He says something interesting in that section on the back about why we love murder mysteries so much. Particularly we do in Britain for some reason. I remember touching on this with my sister-in-law recently, and we kind of thought it was possibly because we like that feeling of control, you know, that we have when we know when we're reading or watching a murder mystery that the perpetrator is going to be found out and justice is going to prevail. And we like to see that happen. And we often like to see how that happens too. But he says Anthony Horowitz has a slightly different take on this, and I just thought I'd read this because I just found it really interesting. He says, I'm often asked why readers have such a keen interest in murder. The short answer is that actually I think we don't. But in fiction, whether it's television or books, murder is a simple, very immediate way of focusing attention on a character. We may have no particular interest in a man who makes pizzas, but the moment his wife is found with her head in the pizza oven, we're forced to ask questions about him, to look behind their relationship, to search for the truth. I think that's a very interesting point because, I mean, all good fiction is mainly about character, and with a murder, the minute a murder happens, what happens is, and you see it in all of these detective dramas, from Midsummer Murders to Foyle's War and all the others, we start diving deep into relationships and character and past histories. And that is what is so fascinating. So, yeah, what do you think? That's a very interesting point. I think it's a very intelligent point. I think maybe a little mix of both. It's that mixture of delving into character and relationships and that feeling of knowing that justice is going to prevail as well. So there you go. The House of Silk, Anthony Horowitz, highly recommended. Now, then, are you joining us? Okay. Hey, there we go. The next book I'll be reviewing, I've started reading this. It's a Rachel Hoare book, actually. It's Silent Tide. Now, I really like Rachel Hoare, but I discovered this one in my bookshelf recently and realised it was one I hadn't actually read. I know my mother read it. We were both fans of Rachel Hoare, so I think possibly we may have picked this one up together, and Mum read it, put it in the bookshelf, and I completely forgot it was there. So I'm really enjoying this one. You do like to hog the camera, don't you? And of course, I bought another Rachel Hoare recently as well, so I've got another one to look forward to. But anyway, yeah, I'll be reviewing that in about 2 or 3 weeks. It might be a fairly quick read. And just a note on what's coming up. So I think next week I will be doing my annual winter book list. And also, I want to just tell you a bit about the reading of A Christmas Carol coming up. I'm going to be doing that in 4 parts in the weeks leading up to Christmas, with the final part being on Christmas Eve. As Christmas Eve this year is on a Wednesday, I shall be doing all the other parts on the previous Wednesday. So the first part should be uploaded on December the 3rd. So just letting you know that, so you can look out for that, but I'll probably post a little reminder as well at some point. So that's all to come up. If you want to see another book review, I'll try and find something similar that I've reviewed and put that link to that up there for you. What are you after? You're waiting for your dinner, aren't you? I said the magic word. So, poor Tilly, I've said the magic D word, and she's a bit all over the place now. So, are you going to look at the camera? Are you going to look at the camera, eh? There you go. So, there you go from me and Tilly. It's bye for now, and have a great week, and I'll see you again soon. All right? Yeah, you say goodbye. Bye-bye. Bye for now.